Hey, it's Sam Lee from Integra Aerospace here, and I just want to share with you one tool that I've used definitely within this last few months in terms of trying to get my head around things I can do stuff about and things I can't do anything about. And I really think that this tool is so important right now because this tool empowers us in an uncertain world. This tool is called the Circle of Influence. And I first came across this in a book, The Principle-Centered Leadership by Dr. Stephen Covey, but I feel that this tool is very, very important right now, possibly with what you're going through. You know, in such an uncertain world where we're wondering whether we're going to have our jobs maybe at the end of this pandemic, or we're wondering about what's going to happen in terms of maybe furlough, or whether the company that we're working for, the industry that we're in, is going to survive. This is a very important tool that we personally can use to help us identify what are those things that we're concerned and anxious about that we can do something about and take actions, positive action steps to influence, and what are those things that actually are completely outside of our control. So to get started, let me just explain how this diagram works, this particular tool works. So I want you to imagine here that one day I get home from work and I'm sitting there in front of the TV and I put the television on and I'm beginning to watch maybe a TV documentary about deforestation that's taking place. And as I'm watching this documentary, I'm beginning to think to myself, you know what, that's absolutely terrible. I need to do something about this. But it so overwhelms my mind that I give up my work. I sit all day, every day on the couch, eating pizza, drinking Coke, and watching as many programs as I can on deforestation because I'm just shocked that this is going on and the environmental impact that it might be having on our world. Now, in the outset, and this is me in the middle here, I'm in the middle of this circle of concern. It so overwhelms me that there's this massive concern in my mind, and it's just huge because of what's going on with deforestation. Now, if I remain in this state where I'm so concerned that it overwhelms my thought life, my mind is just bombarded with this terrible thing that I think at this point is going on, how much influence do I actually have over the deforestation? I have none, because I'm sitting on my couch watching the TV. So what I've got to do is I've got to think, okay, what can I do about this concern that's going to enable me to have some influence? And so the inner circle here is called the circle of influence. And it's really important to think, what do we have influence over? So here's my circle of concern. Now what I need to do is I need to move this concern from here into my circle of influence. It's at that point that I'm going to start to begin to have some influence over this situation. Now, one day I find out that actually I could go along to my local shop, stand outside and shake a pot and collect money. And that in one small step, small action that I've taken will actually enable me to move this concern of mine into my circle of influence. Now, to begin with, it's only a small action. I'm not having a huge impact on changing what's going on over here in this country with deforestation, but it's that small positive step that's enabled me to feel empowered to do something. Over time, I'm mixing with celebrities and the government at different events and galas, and my influence begins to grow as my involvement grows. And I find and think of new ways to get involved to actually have increase in influence. And one day, you know, it comes along that I'm sitting outside one of the shops and I'm shaking this pot, collecting money, and it dawns on me, you know, why don't I set up my own organization that raises money to go over to purchase large amounts of lands, rainforest, and actually ring fence it, not with an actual fence, but just buy up and secure and protect large parts of the rainforest. And so I start my own organization. But what I've done at this point is I've brought it into this inner circle, which is called the circle of control. Now, not everything we're concerned about we're going to be able to control, but for this scenario, this is what I've been able to do. I've been able to move it over here and have some control. As my influence has grown, opportunities have come my way that enable me to take control of this situation, and I start my own organization. I've still got masses of influence because I'm still involved over here at maybe a government level, but I'm not a member of parliament or a governor, so therefore I can't directly control what they think, but I can directly control those things that I have direct influence and control of, like my own organization. Now, this is just maybe a silly example, but I hope it gets across the point that, there's so many things we might be concerned about right now. And I'm just going to ask you, think of some things that you're concerned about. And we do this exercise in human factors classes that I take. And I'll get the people in the room, the participants in my human factor courses, to have a table, and on one side it will say concerns, and they'll write down everything that they can think of that they're concerned about. It might be about what's going on in their work world right now. It might be what's going on in their personal world right now. But it's really important. Just list out those things that you are concerned or anxious about. It might be to do with COVID. It might be to do with other things that are going on. Maybe health problems in a family. Write them down. Then what we need to do is we need to look at those things we're concerned about and decide where they sit. Are we just concerned about them? Do we currently have influence, or do we currently have control over them? And I normally just mark that up on like a little scorecard here. Concerned, yep, I'm concerned. I don't have influence, and maybe I don't have control yet. Then I ask people, okay, what do you need to do? What one positive action do you need to take to move it from being in your circle of concern to your circle of influence? And I find it a really good exercise to look at these concerns and prioritize them. So think of them and say, well, actually, I can definitely do something about this one. I can do something about this one, and I can do something about this one. Pick those three. And then decide what one positive step of action for each of these do I need to take to move them into my circle of concern. Sorry, my circle of influence. Move them into your circle of influence. And once they're in your circle of influence, you can decide then whether you actually have direct control over it or you don't have direct control over it. But I think it's very important to think of ways and use tools that are going to help us with our mindset, keep a good positive mindset. We're in a fantastic industry. The aviation industry is an awesome industry. It's going through a tough time right now. It's gone through tough times before in the past, and we will get through this. And I'm also reminded of something that I read, which was, do we respond to situations, or do we react to situations? Are we responsible? Now, responsible means, am I able to give a response? If I'm driving my car and somebody cuts me up and I maybe mutter some things under my breath or shout or wave at them angrily, actually that's a reaction. I've not thought through my response. And we need to be responsible. We need to think through our responses. Because when we are responsible, when we're able to give a response and not only react to situations, what we're doing is there's empowerment in that. We're actually thinking ahead, and we can find freedom in that. And there's a great quote in the book Principle-Centered Leadership by Dr. Stephen Covey. And it says this: in your freedom to choose your response lies the power to achieve growth and happiness. In your freedom to choose your response lies the power to achieve growth and happiness, even when times are tough. So I just want to leave a couple of questions with you. Firstly, how are you responding to the current situations you're going through? Are you reacting to those, or are you responding to those? And secondly, what concerns or things are you anxious about? Pick 3 of them. And then look to write one action point down for each of those 3 to move them from your circle of concern into your circle of influence. Because this mindset, this way of thinking, is actually going to help us get through the tough times that we might go through. And as we get through them, we're going to grow, and we're going to be able to find happiness as well. So drop me a comment, drop me a line, connect with me some way. I'd love to hear from you, and look forward to speaking to you soon.